WrestleMania is probably less than almost 24 hours away. Usually I like to do a video like this nice and early, but I'm going to talk about it now. There is an MMA video coming, and then there's a topic video coming, which will probably be later in the week. But for those of the MMA people, don't watch this. The next video will be an MMA video because there's so much to talk about. But WrestleMania is finally here, almost. I'm just going to talk about some of the things that have happened because the last time I talked about this, it was a response to a video and more about what kind of matches we would see. And now I'm going to talk about the matches that are coming, which have been booked and announced, and my thoughts on them. So, one of the first matches I really wanted to talk about is actually the Undertaker and Triple H match. Now, earlier in the year, there was a lot of speculation about The Undertaker and what they were going to do with him for WrestleMania. There's speculation about him even being at WrestleMania. I remember even around November time, there was speculation that Brock Lesnar was going to be involved in WrestleMania somehow, some way, and work some kind of angle with The Undertaker, but that fell through. And from all accounts, apparently that wasn't an angle, well, according to Brock Lesnar, but that's a different story altogether. Um, and then there was rumors of Undertaker and Kane in a rematch, Undertaker and Wade Barrett in a match because there was already a storyline made. And then obviously when the video started playing, there was rumors of Undertaker and Sting, and that seemed to have a lot of people talking, and even people outside of this community that we live in, funnily enough, talking to me about that and saying, well, we heard Sting was coming to the WWE. Is he really going to do something with Taker? And there seemed to be a lot of interest and speculation everywhere. And it turned out that that wasn't the case. So Taker was still left with an opponent or, someone to work with. And in the end, they went with Triple H. Um, my thoughts on this one, I'm intrigued to see it. Not for the same reasons that I think some people are. I have liked some of the build. I did like what they did on Raw, and I do like the fact that they haven't been very physical, and that's something I think they need to do a lot more with WrestleManias and SummerSlam pay-per-views. If they did that a little bit more, I think your matches would mean a lot more because then you can only give away so much on free TV without people saying, well, why do I need to pay to see this, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I like what they've been doing, but the reason why I'm interested in this match is to see how Undertaker is physically. We know that he's had a lot of injuries, especially over the last year and through the course of his career. He's had a shoulder surgery that, from all accounts, he's come back too early from. So it will be interesting to see how he holds up physically and what kind of match he has. And I think this will be an indication, depending on what kind of match he has, of what he's going to do for the next maybe year or 2 years, kind of what direction he goes in. Because I see him more as a guy they bring in as a special attraction once or twice a year now, based on how he physically is. So that's one of the matches. The Core versus the Big Show, Kane, Santino Marella, Kofi Kingston match. I mean, that's just one of those throwaway matches. I'm not too, pumped about that. Um, in a way, you would have expected them to do a lot more with Wade Barrett to make their NXT concept look successful. They did a lot with him early, and now it looks like, I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen with him after WrestleMania. I think of the entire group, the two that stand out are Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel. When Gabriel hits his finishing move, people seem to really react to that, and I think there's something they could play off of with that. Wade Barrett carries himself like a star, talks like a star, and comes off like a star. He probably just needs a lot more experience with people older and a lot more experience in matches before I think they really can make him into something. But you never know. Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus. I'm just happy Bryan's getting a WrestleMania payoff. I think that will probably be the opening match of WrestleMania, to be honest with you. Um, I was very impressed with the match they had a few weeks back, and I actually feel that they have very good chemistry, so I think that will be something to watch. Um, it's a shame that they didn't build Sheamus up the way that I suggested in a previous video, and perhaps if they had done that and been a little bit more patient with him, then maybe they would have a lot more options for WrestleMania. main events or big, big, guys they can elevate from that pay-per-view. Um, the other match I wanted to talk about, well, there's no Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm not surprised about that. It's a shame it's missing, but oh well. What was the other match that I wanted to talk about? Oh, my mouth hurting me. Oh, Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. Michael Cole has been the surprise of 2010, early 2011 for me personally. I never really thought much of him as a commentator, but as a heel character, I think he's brilliant. I think he gets the reaction he needs to get. I think he does very, very well verbally, and I think he'd be very, very effective as a mouthpiece for a piece of talent like Jack Swagger or someone else that they have on the roster. I think he plays off well off of the wrestlers. I think as a commentator, they need to take him off though because it can be kind of damaging when he's burying talent verbally as a commentator. I think it's time that he goes off and actually is just a heel character now, and maybe they put someone else in that spot. It'll be interesting. It's just the comedy match there, and again with WrestleMania, you can't have straight pure wrestling. You've got to have a mixture of everything, which is why while I'm not too keen on the Snooki appearance, I can understand why they've got the celebrity wing for that and why she's in that match. Um, I heard she's getting paid a lot of money for this, by the way. I can't remember the figure, but it's an alleged figure, and apparently it's a lot. I'm just glad that Morrison and Ziggler get some kind of run on there. It's always good when the guys who've worked very hard throughout the year are getting some kind of payoff or some kind of appearance on one of the shows. So I'm glad that those two are. Um, I think they need to find a plan for Dolph Ziggler because everything else he does, I think he could be a star. But it's just there's something missing verbally right now, and then maybe there's a promo style that they just don't have or haven't been able to find with him just yet. And almost the same thing with John Morrison too, in some respects. I know a lot of people believe he could have main evented by now and should have. Like he's still stuck in the same spot, and maybe after Mania they need to do something with him because if they don't now, I think fans are going to get to the point where they just don't buy into him ever if he eventually does. Um, the other matches, Alberto Del Rio and Edge. I'm going to be watching that. I'll be very interested in that. Big fan of Del Rio, big fan of Edge. Should be a good one to watch, hopefully. I expect Del Rio to possibly win because I think then if he wins, it opens up a lot of challenges for him. Hopefully, there's a plan with him if he does win, and it's not one of those things where they just throw the belt on someone like Jack Swagger and then they don't have a plan and then they just make him look incompetent, to the fans. That's not something you want to do with your world champion. It's hilarious actually that last year Swagger won Money in the Bank and was world champion, and now he's the assistant to a match, if you know what I mean. So he'll probably take a stunner. So that's probably going to be his bumps worth for the night. Um, what else was there? A lot of people thought Sin Cara was going to debut on WrestleMania, and I think that's actually a good thing that he didn't because he may have been a guy that got lost in the shuffle. Sin Cara, for those of you, is Mystico from CMLL. It would have been a nice thing to do, maybe the opener of the show. But I think maybe you need to save it so it kind of stands out on its own as opposed to being lost in the shuffle in WrestleMania. I've heard that we're going to see appearances from the people on the Tough Enough cast, so I expect we might see them at some point. Probably during the Michael Cole match, I reckon it'll just be like a camera shot where it's like the Tough Enough cast. Don't forget Tough Enough tomorrow night. Um, what else is there? No, the main event. Well, in some people's mind, the main event. I want to talk about The Rock, Cena, Miz deal that they've had going on. I think fans are paying more to see a confrontation between The Rock and John Cena than they are to see Cena and The Miz. And okay, let's backtrack. I've been very into the verbal warfare between Cena and The Rock. Um, you can see a huge difference in the talent level of the two, and I'm not dissing Cena, but there is a huge difference. Rock strikes me as a man who has faith in himself, who believes in himself and believes in what he's saying, and when he comes out, he oozes confidence and charisma and just something. Cena does, but I don't find it to the level of The Rock, and I have liked the verbal warfare. I felt the final knockout blow was just pants, to be honest with you. Who gave a shit? It lacked something, but the verbals he came out with, Cena I'm talking about, on this week's Raw was very very good, and it was a nice little way to kind of get some interest there. With Cena laying him out with the FU and just standing still like that, that left some intrigue. But that's the thing. That's the interesting thing. It wasn't the Miz laying out the two of them. It was Cena laying out The Rock, and in a way, the Miz is kind of an afterthought. Um, I could go on and on about how Cena's character needs retweaking, and that's a video in itself. Um, I mean, there's so many things they could do, and that doesn't necessarily mean turning him heel, but doing some things with his character because it's hard to relate to someone who looks like a cartoon character. And I mean that. He looks like an overgrown child, and I'm being honest about that. And then you look at someone like The Rock or Orton or Steve Austin, they look cool, they look the part. I think they need to retweak Cena a little bit. Um, as for The Miz, I mean, it seems inevitable that The Miz might lose, as it's WrestleMania, but my argument is that Cena's won the belt enough times. It's not going to hurt Cena to lose at WrestleMania. They need new guys. For God's sakes, we've been saying this for about 4 years now. They need new main event talent. And if The Rock's going to get involved in the match and apparently fire a shot back at Cena, then I think that The Miz needs to walk out of WrestleMania with the belt. And I think that would help fans take him seriously because that's been part of the problem in this build. I don't think that fans take The Miz seriously as the WWE champion. Unfortunately, he's come off like a guy that's just had the belt thrown on him and been fluky and looked out of place. And they do need to build him strong. Look at how the WWE have booked Alberto Del Rio from January to now, and look at how they have booked The Miz from January, well, from the time he won the belt till now. There's a huge difference, and I think, while people can say they're heels, that you can't really book heels a certain way, you can, and there is a way of doing it. Look at how Triple H was booked in '99 in year 2000. They could have kind of done something similar with Miz, but unfortunately, it's just a reminder of Chris Jericho's run in 2002. So perhaps maybe Miz winning at WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form would force fans to take him far more seriously. Anyways, guys, I hope that's it for now, WrestleMania wise. I hope everybody enjoys the show. I know a lot of people are out in Atlanta now, going to the Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate USA shows and the fan conventions. If anybody wants to check those out, be sure to buy the DVDs when they come out in a couple of weeks. The WrestleMania weekend has become an event in itself now, and you've got other shows around there. So anyone that's going to WrestleMania there now, or is intrigued by what the other shows are doing, like ROH and Dragon Gate, be sure to check them out and have a look. Anyways, let me know what you think of WrestleMania. Feel free to write anything on my wall. Actually, now I've just opened myself for a can of worms there. And yeah, alright, I'll be back a little bit later. Enjoy WrestleMania, and I'll see you all soon.